W-T-L.
It's time!
W-T-L.
I think we got a show. Oh, yeah, we got a show.
W-T-L.
Welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Claxton, joined by
JaBron.
Oh, the Parlay Pounder coming at you once again.
You got it. We're back.
And we're in the Sweet 16 now.
Yes.
This is March Madness. We're right in the thick of things, so we had to bring on the J.O.
Yeah.
Jeremy Odem, host of Laugh With Me podcast. Jeremy, how we doing?
I'm doing fantastic. You know, the weather's cold, but we're heating up in the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
so.
it's sweet heat in the Sweet 16. I love that.
Hammering the puns already.
Yeah, you got to.
I'm feeling good about this. And Jeremy, I mean, get up on your soapbox here. You just had a chart-topping podcast come out here.
You know, I don't mean to brag, but yeah, we are the 66th highest charted comedy stand-up podcast on Apple Podcasts. So check it out on iTunes. Laugh With Me podcast.
I mean, Joe Rogan's looking over his shoulder. Right?
Yeah,
I'm coming.
He's coming for him. I love that.
For him.
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations.
That
on
is pretty good. I did catch a couple of them. Lavetti Vegas.
Lavetti Vegas is our latest episode. Yep.
And he's from Omaha, right?
He is. Yeah, absolutely.
He's a pretty funny guy.
A lot of talent right around here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We always like to put the local talent up on display.
No doubt.
But we got to get into the Sweet 16. A couple of games that are tipping off today.
Yeah.
And one of them's a really fun one. I could say a blue blood versus a wannabe blue blood. Would you say Arizona, number 2 seed Arizona Wildcats taking on the 6 seed Clemson Tigers. That's going to be at 6:09 over on CBS to kind of kick things off for us. Arizona is catching 7.5 points. They are your 7.5 point favorite. And you know what? A lot of people are still pouring in bets on Arizona. I don't know, JaBron. I'm going to ask you first. How are you measuring this one up?
I kind of lean towards Arizona. You could make the case either way, though, like you were just saying. The Wildcats shot well against Dayton in their last game, hitting 52.8% from the field and 44% from three-point, which is very good in the tournament. The 14 from 20 from the line and the 15 turnovers against the Flyers need to be cleaned up a little bit. That's what's giving people some scares on throwing that big number at Arizona with the minus 7.5. But I do still side with Arizona. I believe the Wildcats have what it takes to take this game down. I believe Clemson's win against Baylor isn't as good on paper as it is everybody's mind right now.
Scott Drew, right? He's a good coach.
No doubt. But I like Arizona's win against Dayton a lot more than I like Clemson against Baylor.
Okay. I can buy a little bit of that for a buck, right? I just feel like Arizona's catching a lot of flack, similar to the other Wildcat team that we talk about, Kentucky. And it's just like, well, they didn't win every single game. Well, what's going on over there with Arizona? I mean, my God, they've still had a fantastic season. They're
Very
a 3 seed. Jeremy, how are you measuring up the Wildcats?
They had a really good season, but remember, in the month of March, they have taken a loss to Bronny James at USC. They have taken a loss to the Oregon Ducks. So we just saw take the Creighton Blue Jays to the brink.
2 overtimes.
But with that being said, Arizona, man, that's chock full of talent. This is a team built for this tournament. I actually like them at 7.5, but it's because of their opponent.
Yeah, no doubt.
Clemson, and this is not a shot at the Huskers because go Big Red. I see Clemson as a lot like Nebraska.
No doubt about it.
And I just like the matchup well here with Arizona.
We've talked about Clemson a couple of times, and I can't get away from P.J. Hall, their center. He's averaging 19, 18 points per game. And Mass Rink, you're making the Husker comparison. Yep. Yes, he was a cog, and he was a good rim defender and all those things. But I don't feel like he was as dominant as P.J. Hall, and I don't know why, but people just weren't on board with the ACC this year. And I think it has a little bit to do with it's the Power 2 conferences and everybody else. And that has filtered into NCAA basketball. I still think the ACC
no doubt.
It's very good.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the ACC. We're going to talk about the ACC all segment long here, Andy, with North Carolina and Duke still in the tournament along with Clemson. So no, you can't count them out, especially North Carolina only losing 3 games on the season. Everybody's saying that they're down. I think it just got to be that's what everybody said this whole entire year about college basketball. Kansas losing a whole bunch of games, Arizona losing a whole bunch of games. No, they're not. It's still college basketball. A lot of crazy things happen. I guess if you only lose 2 games, that's what you have to do to be considered untouchable, kind of like UConn.
What about this over-under? I think it was at 152, 152 and a half.
Yeah, Andy. Man, I do like it a little bit. I don't know if
over?
Hitting the over. I just think Arizona's going to kind of put it on them, so it could be over earlier than I think. So that's what's kind of needling me towards sidestepping this. But if I had to go away, I would go with the over.
You know, you're on fire with your bets. And
Let's go.
And that's the thing. I hate when I'm against you because I'm like, I'm probably wrong in this, but I'm taking the under.
There you go.
And it has to do again with the opponent. I don't know. I think you're right. I think Arizona runs away, but not enough to get us over the top.
Yeah.
I don't know. Clemson usually plays some low-scoring games. So.
Yeah. The only reason I'm saying that is because I think there's an outside chance that Clemson does keep this close for a longer period of time into the second half. They shot well against Baylor, 40, almost 50%, and then held the Bears just to 38%. On the other side, so
they're still alive. They're in the Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. Right. The Tigers have hit 72 more points in 4 of their last 5 games than Arizona. So I do believe that they can score the ball at a good clip, but they've never played anybody like this Arizona team. That's why I think the minus 7.5 is the best bet of the game. I would tiptoe on that over, but like I said, I'm kind of scared about it, and definitely scared now that Jeremy's against me on it.
Well, once again, you make that Nebraska comparison.
Yeah.
And Nebraska wasn't afraid to try and light it up and run with you.
No doubt.
And I think Clemson's much of the same. And that might be their path. A lot of times you hear this the coach speak, right?
Yeah.
Well, if they're going to win, they got to slow it down, right? They got to play. Clemson's like, no, we can't do that. We're not going to do that. And if you're going to try and run with Arizona, you're going to have to score some points.
Have to score points.
All right, let's move on over to the East Regional Sweet 16 matchup. That is a rematch of the title last year.
Yeah.
UConn taking on San Diego State. The number 1 overall seed is facing off with the number 5 seeded San Diego State Aztecs. That's going to be on TBS at 6:39. So, you got to take that half-day work off. You start the game at 10 after 6.
We'll start drinking, and then
there you go. And then you just get that second screen going with UConn. San Diego State. It's looking like UConn heavy favorite, 10 plus points, 10.5.
Yeah, a lot of people have already bet this up to 11.5, Andy, which is pretty crazy, but UConn is the outright favorite to take down this whole thing. Everybody's on UConn. We're hosting our bracket challenge, like we do every year. Top 15 teams in the bracket challenge all have UConn winning the championship. So
that's me included.
Yeah, no doubt. So I get why people are kind of, flexing on San Diego State a little bit, saying that the Aztecs were there last year and all that kind of stuff. But I do believe UConn is still the pick, even I would go all the way up to 12 points here. Whoa. I love UConn. I think they're going to run away with this one. I think they're going to bury San Diego State. I think the Aztecs have made it as far as they can.
Jeremy, I mean, that's a lot of points. I don't care. And this is a team that made it to. And both of these rosters, I don't care if you're talking about UConn, I don't care if you're talking about State. Both rosters are kind of the same, similar to what they had last year.
And it's Sweet 16, and it's not like it's the 1 seed against an under.
The 16.
It's the 5 seed. I mean, it's San Diego State, right? But with that in mind, UConn has scored double-digit wins in 7 of their last 9 games. Yeah. They are peaking at the right time. This is a team built to win the whole freaking thing, like you were saying.
No doubt.
And this matchup to San Diego State, I love UConn. I don't know about 12.
Yeah.
But, man, 10.5? That seems like
you're drawing a little bit.
Yeah. Like you could get it.
Yeah.
Tristan Newton's playing out of his mind.
For sure.
His average is up over 15 points per game. And then Donovan Clingan, he's a double-double guy, averaging 3 blocks, 7.5, 8 rebounds per game. And like you said, that's a tough matchup because these guys have great length. They're battle-tested. They kind of bullied their way through the Big East, even though I think they did drop a game to the old Blue Jays.
They did. They definitely did.
It was a perfect night.
It was awesome.
That's the only reason I have pause. Whenever I'm looking at UConn, I just can't get that game out of my head.
No doubt.
But it was an off night. That happens.
And it was, everything had to go right for Creighton. And a whole bunch of stuff went wrong for UConn. The whole thing with UConn, they're averaging 82 points a game, Andy, while the defense is only giving up 64. This defense is the reason that they're going to take it all the way to the national championship. I believe that San Diego State is going to come into this game a little full of themselves after burying this Yale team. But we all know that, this is a little bit different. But I do believe that they are feeling good about themselves and kind of a little lackluster, and they're going to run into the buzzsaw, which is the number one team in the country, which is the UConn Huskies.
Well, this total is way down compared to other games in the Sweet 16, 136.5. You talk about UConn averaging over 80 points per game.
No doubt.
We should get this easy.
You would think so, especially with the Aztecs scoring 85 and 69 in their last two tournament games. But like we just said, this is probably the best defense. Outside of Houston.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is their defense the reason why? Obviously, it's the reason why this total is so low.
No doubt.
But I see an easy path here. I really do to hit that over.
I do believe it's an easier bet than the spread. I'm going all in on the spread because I think UConn might
just bury
him. But I believe the over is probably the safer bet for those that aren't on the edge with me. What do you think, Jeremy?
I mean, it's just going to come down to coaching, right?
Yeah.
And Coach Hurley, holy cow, he's going to dominate this game. Talk about round one. Those were they up by like 40-plus points at halftime, and he was upset.
Those memes
they
were
are not
gold.
playing hard enough, right?
Those memes were gold.
That's when you knew they were on a path to the championship, then we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I like the under on this one because of the defense, because of Hurley coaching them, the strategy-wise. This is going to be all UConn.
See, I kind of look at it the other way there, where I'm thinking if Hurley's going to be on them, saying like, we need to score another 80 points, boys. I mean, okay, then maybe they'll just take us to 136 there.
You never know.
I don't know. Well, you heard the horn. That means we're up against it. So let's take a quick minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Stock and Rod Company, an outdoor lifestyle brand for those seeking adventure. Whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, they got you covered. Visit stockandrod.com to get your wild game on. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. You know what that stands for. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm yours, Andy Klassen, joined by
JaBron.
The Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
Yes, we are, and we got Jeremy Odem back in the fold. Jeremy, how we doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Just talking ball here.
Yes,
talking ball.
Talking ball.
You are.
Talking March.
The chart topping. That was your podcast, right?
Yes.
The Laugh With Me podcast.
Yep, Laugh With Me. Find us on iTunes, charts, everywhere.
I was going to say you launched a YouTube channel as well.
That's right.
So,
and we've got a big season 2 premiere coming very
man.
soon for Laugh With
Love
Me.
that.
He's got to show us how to do that YouTube thing.
He really does.
We've been after it for a while, and we're monetizing all the things. We're all the things. But I still feel like we could get to that next level. We got to level up. We got to be like Jeremy here. That's why we got him on the show.
That's why we got him on the show. I love it.
Well, let's dive into another game tipping off here today, and that is the North Carolina Tar Heels taking on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Alabama is the 4 seed taking on the 1 seed, North Carolina. And let's see here. North Carolina, depending on where you're looking, 4.5-point favorite, 5-point favorite. We'll start with you, Jeremy. How are you measuring this one up? What are your initial thoughts?
Well, they're the more complete team. They're the team that you know a little more of what they're going to be when they show up on tonight. But Alabama, on the other hand, man, I don't know. Both teams like to run. And I just don't know. They're inconsistent. North Carolina, I like them at 4.5. I like the fact that we know what we're getting with them. We've seen them against some really top-tier opponents in the ACC. I don't know. I'm going with North Carolina on this.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is an 8:40 tip-off on CBS, so it's going to be one of the later games, and you're going to have to stay up for. And North Carolina does have, I would say, a more complete resume. Obviously, they're the 1 seed here, but the Tide's not far behind.
Yeah, for sure.
Coming out of that 4 seed.
Yeah, the Crimson Tide are one of the highest scoring teams in the country, but where I feel that North Carolina is really going to pull away from, they do not play a lick of defense, I don't believe. Alabama did not play well against Grand Canyon in their last game, and they were very lucky the Lobes had an off-shooting night. North Carolina rolled to victory against Wagner in their first game, then overcame a second-half deficit in a blowout with Michigan State, which a lot of people have them busting that bracket right there with the Spartans over the Tar Heels. So I love how they came back against Michigan State, a very well-coached team, a very good team in the Big Ten. But I think the Tar Heels really pull away with this one in the second half. They have the superstars, Amanda Babcock and R.J. Davis. Very well, solid rebounding team. Alabama can stay with any opponent with their offense, but I just do believe with all those other factors, North Carolina pulls away in the end. I believe the -4.5, -5 is a lock. Probably my favorite game today to bet on.
All right. R.J. Davis is loving that NIL too.
No doubt.
I mean, he's got like 3 or 4 national commercials now working out for him. So, good for that. Good for that young man. I just hope he keeps his head in the game though. And so far, so good.
Yeah, averaging 22 points a game, 4 rebounds and 4 assists. His head's in the game.
He's doing all right.
He's the man.
Right. No, going back last week to that Michigan State game where Michigan State did get up on him. That was one of those deals where you got the big screen going and then you got all the little screens around it. And, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be that guy. I need this game on the big screen now. Could you switch it over?
Could we switch that one, please?
So then I finally get my way, and then North Carolina just runs away with it, ends up blowing them out. Like I was shocked at the beginning of the game, and then I was a little shocked that Michigan State just couldn't hang in there and nurse their lead at least, and keep it close. But North Carolina just blew them out.
Yeah, and one of my best player props for this game, Andy, is Armando Babcock, the big guy for North Carolina, over 11.5 rebounds. I don't believe anybody with Alabama can bang with this guy. 12 rebounds should be a layup for this guy. -105 on most sportsbooks right now. I believe that is an over hit. So make sure you get to your sportsbook. Armando Babcock, over 11.5 rebounds. I believe it's a lock.
Now, Jeremy, that's over his average. He's averaged just over 10 per game on the season. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I mean, like you were just saying, their defense, Alabama, I don't know that they practice defense. I mean, they just.
I think Armando's going to get some
It's a shoot-around in practice.
I really wanted to sidestep that. No, I didn't. Everybody's beating up on the SEC, so let's get our jabs in there, too.
We have to while we can.
Yep, they don't play defense. They were 1-5 at one point in the round of 32.
No doubt.
Headlined by Kentucky and their collapse.
They're still shook from Nick Saban leaving.
Is that what it is?
That's got to be what it is.
Everybody's shook.
Yep. They're just reeling. Oh, and everybody feels so bad for the SEC.
I feel bad for him.
All righty, should we move on to another matchup here?
I think we're all on North Carolina.
Yep.
And those big men in the paint there for North Carolina.
I got one more fact.
Let's do it.
Just one little stat, and this is going to help you with the over. I saw 173.5 is what I was seeing on the over for the game. North Carolina has hit the over in non-conference games. They're 10-2-1.
Wow.
In the last 13. So I like that a lot. And that includes the Michigan State game.
Yeah, obviously that total is way up from all the other games that we're going to talk about, but that is because the Alabama defense gives up so much points. But like we just said, alluding to North Carolina, they have the scores to do this. So I believe that Alabama, even if they push this game just a little bit with their offensive, how good they are, this can get to this total. So I'm there as well.
And that's what North Carolina's here to do.
No doubt.
They're here
to score.
They really are like Showtime on the collegiate level. They want to fill up the cup and have fun. And Alabama kind of plays right into that. Like, we'll run with you.
Shoot.
Yeah,
we'll shoot.
We can do that too.
Good luck to you.
Okay, right on, guys.
Yeah, I love that point.
All righty. Let's move on to Iowa State taking on Illinois. This is 2 teams that are playing their best basketball right now.
Yeah.
You hear that and you talk about that, but Iowa State's won their last 5. Illinois won their last 5 with wins in the conference tournament over Nebraska, who was hot. Let's give them their flowers a little bit here. And then Wisconsin had that late surge there, and Illinois is like, that was nice. That was a nice story there. But we're going to take home this championship right now. Yeah. And they look pretty good in the opening round there of the NCAA tournament. And let's see here. Iowa State. This is a tight game, unlike the other ones that we've been talking about. For the 9-10 tip-off on TBS, the Cyclones are your 1.5 favorite. Jeremy, how are you leaning on this one?
Man, are we thinking that the run that Illinois had is about to just...
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
And why do I always, when I think Iowa State, I think back of all those games where they've been upset and they've been a 2 seed, they've been a 3 seed. I can't get that out of my head, right?
All you can think about.
So I always assume they're going to lose. They are playing incredibly well. We got to see them right here in Omaha. Yeah. But, man, I got to think Illinois' run is ending soon. I like Iowa State to win the game.
Okay.
I think the 1.5's low.
Yeah,
Really?
Like real low.
Wow.
Yeah, as an Illinois bettor, I would like to get more juice on this line for sure. I would like it +3, +4.5, because it really should be that with the body of work that Iowa State has done lately. Obviously, Iowa State is the more balanced team, more consistent team, should get the edge with the odds makers like we were just alluding to. But Illinois has had extreme highs, but also has come out flat at times.
They've looked terrible.
Has bizarre losses.
Yeah, they look terrible. You can't
Yes.
explain some of those losses away.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but that Illinois is playing great ball right now. The offense is clicking, scoring 85 or more points in 4 straight games. I just believe that this team. I think Iowa State's riding a little high. I believe that they're riding a little high. I think everybody's looking up to them as the Big 12 savior. I still don't consider Houston in the Big 12. Am I the only one that
always
thinks like that?
confuses me.
It always confuses me. Obviously, they're number 1 seed. They're in the Big 12, but with Kansas out, I believe most people are looking at the Cyclones saying, "Okay, you got the helm now. Can you take down this Big 10 team?" And I really don't think they can. I'm going money line Illinois. I believe Illinois takes this game down, knocks these Cyclones out for good.
I got a lot of friends that went to Iowa State or root for Iowa State, being in this area, living in this area for so long. And when they talk Hilton Magic and all that stuff, like I don't even put up an argument. I'm like, yes, Hilton Magic is real. I mean, you better believe it, right? Yeah. But that's the thing here. You're not playing at the Hilton Coliseum in Ames, Iowa. You're playing on a neutral field, and you're playing against a team that, stacks up against you very well. In my mind, with the Illinois, the dirty guy, cousin from Illinois, whatever they say in that parody song. And both teams are working on a 30-win season here. So, you talk about Illinois and some of those weird losses. I don't think Iowa State has as bad as losses.
Definitely not.
And I also, you brought up Houston. I really like that win they just had a couple weeks ago.
No doubt about it.
69-41.
No doubt about it. Now, beating a 1 seed that bad.
And I don't care what those, your pundits were saying about, well, Houston, they got down and it snowballed and this. I don't care. You got blown out on a big stage.
Yeah.
And they were favored. They were big favorites in that game.
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm not trying to dispute the fact that Iowa State has been very, very good down the stretch, which they have in all season. But I think people are alluding to that Illinois hasn't been that good, and they really have been in my eyes.
Yeah.
In a tough Big Ten stretch at the end of the year, they beat Ohio State, which was surging at the end of the year, a surging Nebraska team that they beat twice at the end of the year, and then Wisconsin by 6. So I believe that this team is just as good as anybody in the Big 12. Anybody in the Big Ten, and I really believe that they are going to win this game.
That money line bet's at a +110 for Illinois.
Yes, sir.
If you're looking at Iowa State, you got a -135. That's not too juicy, is it?
Doubt.
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No.
How about this over-under, 146.5?
I don't know.
I don't like it.
It's okay to, and we say this all the time, it's okay to sidestep.
It's okay to sidestep it. But the way that I think about college basketball, I always will go over. And with Illinois, that has been the case, scoring 89, 85, 93, 98 in their last games, Andy. But you got to look at Iowa State. Can they do their portion, only scoring 67 points against Washington State, and then, like you said, 69 against Houston in that blowout win. So I believe that they can probably do it, but it's not a game that I'm going to be betting the over-under on. Just that money line bet for me.
I don't really like that. I don't really like that over either. And part of the reason is Gilbert, the leading scorer for Iowa State's only averaging 13 points per game.
They're not flashy. They're not flashy.
They're not flashy at all. I mean, all these teams that we've talked about, previously, their leading scorer is 21, 23 points per night. Here's the guy that's 10 points behind that, leading his team. So that kind of
just look at Terrence Shannon Jr. over on Illinois, averaging 23 and 4 rebounds, and then Domasic is averaging 16 points.
Yeah.
So they got the scores. I'm not disputing that. I just don't know if Iowa State's good defense and their scoring ability gets this over.
Well, you heard the horn, so that means we're up against it. But let's take a quick minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. World class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first. and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Klassen, joined by
JaBron.
Parlay Pounder.
Yes, sir. We're back.
Yes, we are, and we are once again joined by Jeremy Odem of the Laugh With Me podcast. Jeremy, how we doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
You know,
Okay.
I want to say, I thought when we were talking about the Iowa State game, you said, hey, I have a lot of friends, and you paused for a second, that go to Iowa State or live around Iowa State. I thought it was a humble brag, and you just have a lot of friends. I was wondering where you were going with that.
He does not have a lot of friends.
Oh, okay.
No,
I was like, man,
He's doing
this
a
is the
podcast
guy.
with his brother. He doesn't have any friends.
guy.
I couldn't find anybody to talk to, so I wrote my brother into it. All right, so okay, I take my jab then. All right. I thought we could get into the South
Let's do
Regional
it.
Sweet 16 matchup, and we got to talk about the Golden Eagles, Marquette, the 2 seed, taking on North Carolina State, the 11 seed. Oh boy, the Wolfpack once again are at it. Are they this year's darlings, Jeremy?
You know, they are to this point.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here we go. A little reality
Their
check.
tournament is ending.
Yes.
Marquette, I like them. I have them in the
Yeah.
Final Four.
Yeah.
What a road for these guys to be able to face, you know, an really good NC State team,
No doubt.
but overachieving.
Yeah.
Man, Marquette, and they get the 6.5.
Yeah.
6.5 point spread. Marquette's your favorite.
Yeah.
I just like Marquette because I know that NC State will play the tempo that the Eagles want to play at. They both average 72 possessions per game and have plenty of opportunities to run their highly efficient offenses.
Yeah.
In my estimation, there's quite a strong coaching edge
Yes.
with Marquette.
Shaka.
I know Shaka has had his issues in the tournament before, but
Oh,
based
Omaha
on,
loves him.
but-
Omaha just loves those antics.
based on the body of work, I don't think there's any question that is a huge advantage
Wait, he's
for
not playing on
Marquette.
the court? I thought he was the sixth
he's
man.
usually on the court.
Yeah,
he was on the court.
While I'm leaning towards Marquette covering here, I'm not, in love with the line just
Right.
because of how NC State has played in the
Yeah.
past few games.
Yeah, they're hot.
I believe there's better value for me. Tyler Kolek exceeding his assist prop, I believe, is the lock of the game here. He's at 7.5 right now. He has taken his passing up to the next level since returning from his injury, recording 11 assists in back-to-back games. The most previous game came against Colorado when he went over in the first half, Andy.
Yeah.
So NC State has struggled mightily defensively against pick and roll sets, and that's what he's going to do against this team.
Yeah.
So I believe Tyler Kolek over 7.5 is my best bet of this game.
Creighton Blue Jay fans can't wait for Kolek to go ahead and move on to the next level
No
or
doubt about
whatever, use up his 8th COVID year or whatever
Yeah.
they call
Yeah.
that. His season average was 7.9 on assists.
Yeah.
And a lot of times he was looking up who I want to talk about, Cam Jones, averaging 18
No
points
doubt.
per game. I think he's going to be a big reason why the Golden Eagles can cover this 6.5. But you're not thinking you don't like the cover.
Well, I'm not saying that they won't cover. I'm just saying that I'm going to pair that Kolek over in the Marquette money line as a parlay there, a two-piece
Ooh,
parlay,
okay.
plus 126 on DraftKings right now. I believe that's a better value that I do believe that they're going to win no matter what. But if NC State stays close somehow, free throw shooting here, free throw shooting there, and all that kind of stuff,
Sure.
I want to have that in my back pocket that I just need them to win, and I know these assist numbers are going to go over.
Yeah, the Wolfpack, they're crafty. They figure out ways to win games, right? They are here, right?
Yeah.
I know they're the 11 seed, but they're in the Sweet 16 and scoring from the foul line. That's what good teams do. They find a way to win. That total's at 150. 150.5.
Yeah.
Jeremy, do you like that?
You know, Marquette games this year are averaging 148.5.
Yes. Right there.
Right on
Right
line, right?
there.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it.
Under.
I think it's going to hit the under. I'm
Yeah.
not going to bet it, though, because it's
Yeah.
that close.
It's right there.
But yeah, no, I personally think it's going to go under. I'm excited for that parlay.
Yeah, no,
Honestly.
it should work out. But yeah, the thing with that over under, Andy, is that both these defensive have issues and matchups in this game.
Sure.
I just think that any team in the country that is going against a slugfest with the Golden Eagles that wins it, I don't see this NC State team being that team that takes them down.
I'll be the first one to admit it. Ever since Creighton joined the Big East, I've
Yeah.
watched a lot more Big East basketball.
sure.
And it was one of those deals where everyone told me, they're pretty rough and tough in the Big East.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of buying into it. You see it firsthand. When Georgetown's getting shoved around like the way they've been getting
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
And those are big dudes. Those
Yeah.
are big dudes. But Xavier is good. Providence is good. And they're big-bodied
Big
teams.
guys.
And then when a more of a finesse team like North Carolina State matches up with a team like Marquette, who they're fine playing bully ball.
I really do believe it's going to come down to that. And NC State, like we said, great run in the tournament. I believe it ends here with a Marquette win.
All righty, and you're right there.
Normally when the Wolfpack is involved, a fist fight goes their way, but not today.
No.
Not today.
Not today.
All right, well, let's look at another Friday matchup. That is the number one seed out of the Midwest Regional, and that is your Purdue, not your Perdon'ts, your Purdue Boilermakers taking on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And let's see here. Yep. Purdue is hold on to a 5.5 point favorite. JaBron, do you think the Boilermakers out of the Big Ten can cover?
Yes.
Okay.
I think
that's all. That's all we got.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay,
no, the big things that really shine a light on this game for me, Andy. The Bulldogs are below average at defending at the rim, and they don't have the bigs to slow down the National Player of the Year, Zach Edey. Zach Edey will be at the line 47 frickin' times this game. This game is going to go over its time limit by 4 hours. We're going to have to wait to watch Creighton. It's going to be crazy. But no, I believe it's just a really good matchup for Purdue, considering Purdue leads the country in 3-point percentage as well at 40%. I believe that they're too much for this Gonzaga team, especially with Zach Edey.
Yeah, nobody matches up with Edey all that well. 7-4, and there's so many detractors, and people try to poke holes in his games, but it still doesn't matter. It's a freaking mountain of a man standing there, and he gets away with a lot of pushing, a lot of shoving. He gets calls.
He either gets fouled or he fouls on every single play of the game. It's absolutely crazy to watch a Purdue game. It takes so long. It's kind of boring, but it's what's going to happen.
Well, he looks like one of the Monstars from Space Jam.
Really does.
And
the Sean Bradley one.
Yep. And Ryan Nembhard's going to have to be Michael Jordan in order to get this upset, which it's not going to happen. And Purdue basketball, you're right, it's so boring.
It is boring. I hate it. Mostly because they beat us every time, but I hate it.
Not this year. The old Huskers got them at home. One of their 4 losses.
Sorry.
You mentioned Ryan Nembhard. The portal transfer from the Creighton Blue Jays resurfaced or found a home with the Gonzaga Bulldogs. He does lead the team in assists, which he should. He is the point guard, but he averages 6.9 assists per game. Yeah. So his game did transition well for the Bulldogs, but they had a number of hiccups in their conference throughout the season. And I think that's why people aren't as high on the Bulldogs as they have been in the past. St. Mary's has given them fits, and it goes back to that. Well, do you want to put your chips in on a team out of the West that you don't know a lot about, or a battle-tested Big Ten team?
Well, Gonzaga's a fixture in the Sweet 16, and a lot of times they're advancing to the Elite 8. But in the last 10 years, this is probably that Gonzaga team that you felt the least confidence in, even though they're so freaking talented.
For sure.
But what an up and down season. I feel bad for Nembhard, just personally. I'm like, man,
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't. They're one game away from a Final Four. You're like, it's not good enough. I gotta go find something better. There's greener pastures out there.
Yeah, for sure, Andy. Have we talked the over/under at all in this game yet?
We have not. What are we looking at? We're looking at 154.5.
154.5, Andy,
consensus?
and I do like it. Like
going
said,
over.
I love the over. We're kind of dogging on Gonzaga a little bit, but still, while Gonzaga has, they've still shot a sizzling 39.2 from long range since January. I just believe that they can put points up. They only shot 6 for 32 beyond the arc the first time that they played Purdue in the Maui Invitational back in November. So I believe that they are a better shooting team than that. So I do believe they can put some points up. I do got a single game parlay for this game as well, if you'd like to know it.
Hey, let's get into all those parlays.
The over at 154.5. Zach Edey over on points, 25.5 points, and then Purdue money line. You add all that up, it's a plus 300 parlay. Putting 25 on that to win 100, I believe it is a lock. I believe all three of these things happen very easily.
That 25.5 for Edey?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically the season average. He's averaging 25 points per game.
He's going to shoot 30 free throws, so
Absolutely.
25 and a half should be easy.
I did get a kick out of all that talk. It's almost like pundits are trying to figure out storylines and things to talk about, and so they can be different from this place to that place. And they're just trying to find things wrong with this game. And a big discussion was, well, they're not going to call it like they did in the Big Ten. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they
Yes,
are.
they are.
Yes, they are.
They want that storyline. They want those stars.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to with all the hand checking and all the slapping. It's crazy to watch a Purdue basketball game. I'm not saying it's fun. I'm just saying it's crazy to watch it because if you watch it, he either fouls somebody or gets fouled on every single play of the game, and it takes so freaking long.
That's why it's a trend.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a trend, and it
trend.
very much is.
Yep. And that's going to be a 6:39 tip-off on TBS. Jeremy, do you like that? Do you like that parlay?
I love it. You
Yeah.
know what I suggest?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That we pound it.
Pound that!
That we pound it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had a fourth leg to throw down. Okay.
Hey, you can throw anything you win on there. I'm just saying, if you want a plus 300 parlay, that's it right now.
Boom.
Then add anything you want onto it. So I believe all three of these things are green check marks, though.
Bing, bong. All right, well, let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. We've been enjoying a Bavarian wheat beer known as the EOS. The unfiltered EOS is a fresh, sweeter style Hefeweizen, thanks to its notes of vanilla and nutmeg. If it's free, it's cold, I'm on board, so it's all good.
We're all about it.
We're all about it. Nebraska Brewing Company, world class in every glass. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I am your host, Andy Klesson, joined by
JaBron.
the Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
And we got to finish strong. We got to do it. We're talking Sweet 16. And once again, the Creighton Blue Jays, they got to be the nightcap.
Yes, they do.
Man, do they know how to finish off a weekend. Double overtime, no sweat, pull away at the end.
Most exciting team in basketball right now, the Creighton Blue Jays.
Yeah, looking pretty sharp, looking pretty good. We've been saying it all season.
We've been saying it all season.
And you heard the laughter there. We got Jeremy Odem back in the fold. Jeremy, how we doing?
I'm doing great. We're going to talk Blue Jay basketball,
Yeah.
the main event of the round.
That's what I'm saying. The main event, once again.
The main event of the Sweet 16.
The other team from Nebraska has to carry the weight.
They do.
Of the entire NCAA tournament in the round of 16.
Yep.
But, we'll do what we got to do. I mean, it is the basketball state, Nebraska, right?
Everybody knows it's Nebraska ball.
It's it goes basketball, volleyball, football. That's what we're known for.
Well, wrestling's in there, I'm sure.
And bowling.
Oh my
Bowling.
God, how could I forget bowling?
Football's out.
Do they
Just
play
kick it out.
football anymore? Yeah,
Not at UNO.
Ouch! God, that's painful, but you trip
Thanks, Trev.
sometimes, right? Yeah, it's definitely Trev's
Trev
fault.
took football with him.
You took it.
It was his last move. He canceled football again.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Again.
Oh my God!
The sequel.
Again, yes, I like that. I didn't even think about that, but it is Trev's fault for sure.
I'm on that bandwagon for sure.
Back to the Sweet 16. We are talking the South Regional matchup, and that is Houston taking on Duke. That is a 7:39 tip-off on CBS. Houston Cougars, they are the 1 seed, and they look like the 1 seed. But the Blue Devils have not disappointed. The 4 seed, hey, they're here, and let's have a look right here at the latest line. Houston, still your 4.5-point favorite. JaBron, where you at?
Yeah, I still think the Cougars are several steps better than Duke at this point.
Just because they're taller, faster, and shoot better.
Yeah, I like them to cover just overall. But Duke's path has looked impressive, but let's not lose the fact with the competition they've played. They got crazy against James Madison and then a double-digit lead on Vermont. So these are double-digit seeds, but it is March Madness. But I do believe that the Texas A&M win that Houston has is a lot better than anything that Duke has put on the table here. I do believe Houston is going to make the Final Four, so I am taking them in this game. I believe 4 points is an easy cover for them.
Yeah, please don't throw any shade at Jeremy's Vermont Catamount Catamounts.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're a big Catamount guy over there. So, but I mean, what do you make of this? Houston, just I would say only being a 4.5-point favorite. I think Duke's getting a little love here because it's Duke. It's Duke.
I'm going to tell you why. Houston, we have a problem here.
Yeah.
There's a strong rumor that Coach K is coming out of retirement.
Oh, God.
Oh, my
to
God.
work the bench. He is going to not only be on the bench as the main strategist in this game. He's going to be the head coach. He's back at Duke. No, Houston's going to win. It's
he
4.5.
better bring Christian Laettner and Grant Hill with him.
I thought we were going to make up a word like strategery. The Blue Devils going to use some strategery here to try and knock off the Houston Cougars. Now, we've been talking about Houston a lot, rightfully so, this entire season. But I don't know if they looked as good as we thought they should have looked during that Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, I mean, if there's a reason to maybe think twice here, I think that's it, because I like betting teams that look good in their conference tournament.
Yeah, for sure, Andy. And I think another reason that bettors are going to look to the Duke Blue Devils is that they have a size advantage, but they don't really score all that well at the rim. And I do not think that they exploit their size the way the Aggies did against Houston. So Houston will likely force this game to the perimeter. Duke will need to repeat that 4-28 effort beyond the arc, and I do not think that's likely against this Houston very good defensive team. So I do believe Houston kind of runs them out. I think Duke will have a couple punches in there.
Sure,
but
they're
Houston
a good team. Don't
is
get it wrong.
the better team overall. It will prevail. They're covering as well.
Yeah, don't hold the Big 12 against Houston in this matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not their fault.
Again, I don't believe that they're in that conference. So.
Right. I mean, we're kind of piling on here, but we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
ESPN's analysis point predictors, they got Houston winning a big way. They got them at a 76.5 point percentage to win this game. So win it outright, the money line. You're looking at Houston all the way on some of these, very basic older betting models. But we've seen Duke do this before, whether it's from the 3 seed or the 4 seed.
Hey.
And I believe there's a lot of, I don't want to call it funny money, but you're seeing the Duke Blue Devil hardcore fan base. Just like books have to account for Husker fans, in a big game.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
There are Duke fans all throughout the nation, and they will bet this game. I know one thing that they will be betting, Andy, and that is the over at 134.
Yeah.
I believe this is actually a very good bet for either side
Really?
of what you're doing. Obviously, the attention in the game is rightly focused on Houston's defense, but I do believe that they have enough scores. And then Duke, if this is not a complete total blowout, I believe that this over is low enough that it's going to sneak over that 134 line. So I like the over.
Last time I bet the over was the Creighton game, and I got to say, overtime kind of helped me.
Double overtime
made me feel
yeah.
really good. That was like a little cherry on top there for me. How about you, Jeremy? What do you think of that total?
No, I love the over. The defense, like you brought up, but they both run.
Yeah, they both
and
run.
I just love their scoring. And yeah, I think this is actually it's one of my favorite bets of Friday's
Let's
games.
go!
Here we go. Okay.
I love that.
Down with the Dukies.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on to the game that we've all been thinking about. A lot of folks around Nebraska have been talking about. That is the number 2 seed, Tennessee Vols, facing off with the 3 seed Creighton Blue Jays. Tennessee is your 2.5 point favorite. So many people around here, right? We're talking about Regency bias, have Creighton taking down the whole tournament. We have a couple of those in our bracket challenge.
No doubt. I'm one of them.
Oh, boy. So, okay, let's start right there. Tennessee, 2.5 point favorite. You're leaning big towards the Blue Jays.
Yeah,
Books got it wrong.
Well, I don't know if the books got it wrong, but I love the plus 2.5 towards Creighton, Andy. Creighton is the most experienced team left in the tournament, I believe.
Yeah.
They play the same style they've been playing for years under Greg McDermott. This team shoots a ton of threes. The Volunteers are a defense that gives up a lot of 3 attempts, although they aren't always, good looks or whatever. But if you look throughout the Creighton lineup, everyone shoots well, including the 7'1" Ryan Kalkbrenner. Put the game on ice last time.
Yes, he
Hits
did.
over 30% from deep. Very few teams move along the perimeter and pass the ball as well as Creighton. They could be the perfect kryptonite against this stout Tennessee defense.
Yeah, this is where, Tennessee, if they just get sloppy a couple of times on defense and don't stick with everybody on the perimeter, Creighton can capitalize. Jeremy, how are you seeing this one?
I think with Creighton gets bad looks for 3, that's to their advantage.
Yeah. I mean, Baylor can hit them.
Jeez, how many great looks could they get in this last week? But I love Creighton in this. I love the money line plus 125. I think they win the game outright.
That's a good one. Yep.
How the big 3 from Creighton has to step up.
No doubt.
They should.
Plus 20, from the big guys. But no, I love Creighton in this. And like you were saying, the matchup fits perfect. If they
really
were going to get a 2 seed and have to go head-to-head with them, it's Tennessee.
In Tennessee, they rely so much on that Connect kid, averaging 22 points per game. And when you got a horse, you got to ride him.
Right.
But this is where we're talking about Creighton. There are 3 horses. There are 3 leading scorers this season. Were the 3 leading scorers last season that also played in this game last season. And you got to think, I just like how the Creighton Blue Jays, it wasn't easy for them this year.
Yeah.
They came into this season flying high, a top 5, ranked in the top 5, and then the Mountain West, hold on.
Yeah, no,
Colorado State and company.
They got humbled real early.
They did.
And were able to peak back up towards the end of the season.
A little bit of grit, and I think
sure.
that's the difference. You guys both talked about the 3-point shooting abilities for the Creighton Blue Jays. That's like a staple, right, for the Creighton Blue Jays. This year, they can rebound and they can play defense, and I think that's the difference. And I think that's why I like the money line bet here against Tennessee. And also, how's the SEC doing in the tournament?
Very, very
compared to the
well.
Big East, compared to the Big
I think
East.
we
Let's get
already
that jab in there one more time. Let's get that jab in there one more time.
No doubt about it. But yeah, Tennessee, very good team. We're not trying to say that, but this might not. This just might not be the matchup for them. I believe it's a bad matchup for the Volunteers. Creighton won't let them do what they want to on offense, and will be a tall task to stop them on offense. This group has 1 win away from the Final Four last year, and I like them to get back to the Elite 8. Can I give you my parlay for this game, Andy?
Can you give it to me? I'm asking.
I got the man, Baylor Shireman. I'm doing a 4-legger single game parlay right here.
Here we go.
Baylor Shireman over 23 points. Baylor Shireman over 5 assists. Baylor Shireman over 9.5 total rebounds. And then Creighton money line. Put that all together, $25 will return you $350.
Jeremy, actually, I'm a big fan of Baylor, and I actually like how you threw that 4th leg in there, because if the other 3 hit, the 4th one's hit for sure. You might as well just throw that one in there.
You might as well throw it on.
Folks, that's why they call them the
Let's go.
Pounder. Jeremy, what is your
Shireman special?
The Shireman special.
Holy cow.
Sounds like the local steakhouse.
Yeah.
Special,
You got like a Neil deal with him?
Yeah, I should.
You have to, right?
Yeah, he has NIL with us.
I know he does.
Right. Well, not yet. That would get him in trouble.
Never mind. Cut that
Never mind. Cut that.
He's not Shohei Ohtani.
No, he's
this
not.
thing. Jeremy, what are your initial thoughts on that, in all seriousness?
No, I love it. And if Creighton's going to win, Baylor's going to be a huge factor in that, right?
Yes.
And I don't know, man, he's just a complete player.
He really is.
He really has impressed this year. And I love everything he did in the summer. He knew what he needed to work on, and he has stepped up as the leader of the Creighton Blue Jays.
All-American.
Yeah, he's an All-American, and he's kind of the ringleader of a team of stars.
Yes,
There's the horn, so that means we're up against it. But what I really like about Baylor Shireman's game, and you saw it in that overtime game, when the game's on the line, he is looking for the ball.
Yeah,
he doesn't get lost, and you could just tell the offense kind of went stagnant.
He's going to grab it towards him.
And he went and knocked down not only that little fadeaway shot that everyone wants to talk about. How about when the shot clock was winding down, it looked like he was going to have to heave up a 3. Instead, he found Cockbrenner under the
basket.
Speaks of the versatility.
Yeah, his passing, man. He's so brave. I love it.
Yep.
Still one of the best high school quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Woo!
Broadcasting the game. Shout out Nebraska high school football.
Let's go.
Well, you heard the horn. That means we got to wrap it up. So that'll about do it for us this week. Be sure to follow us, folks, on ESPN Tri-City Radio, our Twitter account, and please, if you haven't done so already, our YouTube channel. We're doing daily short videos, feature-length videos, everything else. And JaBron, you got something going on over at TikTok, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. Daily picks over on TikTok at WTL Sports Betting. Just search for us. We do got parlays and single game parlays on primetime matchups. Follow us.
And Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us once again. You have a chart-topping podcast.
Yes.
Laugh with me. Where can folks find that?
Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube.
And they can find you at J.O. from Omaha on Twitter.
From Nebraska.
From Nebraska.
I live in Omaha.
That is right. J.O. from Nebraska.
J.O. from Nebraska.
Here. I wish I could read. It would really help me in doing this game.
In this racket.
All right, for JaBron, Jeremy, and myself, Andy Klassen, thank you for listening. This has been WTL.